Yeah. Okay. Go.
Will you hand me my screen box?
Now go.
All right, we're taking up case 2558, and this is Mr. Barrett has received a temporary restraining order against Ms. Harris, and that's the hearing today. So, and this involves also several of your children that we included, Mr. Barrett, in the temporary order.
So back in September, October was my first interaction with her. She came to my property about my dogs, supposedly being on her property. And she showed me a video of a long-haired German Shepherd, which didn't exactly match my dog's description. But so we talked about it, and she asked what I was going to do about it because I don't have a fenced-in yard. So I told her that when time and money allows, I would get a barrier put up. So if it was my dogs that went on her property, it wouldn't happen again. Well, then after that incident, there was several times that my wife and I were not home, and we heard from the neighbors that she was sitting in our driveway. Well, there was no vehicles there. There was no indication that anybody was home, and she was just sitting parked in our driveway. And we have a very long driveway to get down, so she was sitting in front of our house. So I heard from the neighbors about that, and then also one time my father was home, and she came on two different instances when my dogs were inside in the kennel all day with my dad. That she was there sitting in our driveway, not coming to the door, not doing anything, just sitting there.
This is not a shared driveway, is it?
No,
She doesn't need
it's
to
my
use
private,
it,
it's my private driveway that she has no business down the driveway.
but nobody else needs to use it to get to their own
Nobody,
property.
nope, it's
Okay.
just my property.
All right.
Access for one
and-
residence.
All right.
And so then that happened, and then animal control was called. They came and talked to us. We were not issued any warning because they said she didn't provide any proof. They met our dogs. They actually physically petted our dogs.
What's the deal with her, though? Not, so
well,
why are you
order-
asking for this protection?
From February 24th. So February
Okay.
24th, I got home probably like, I think probably about 1:30 in the afternoon. And I heard this honking, and I'm like, what is that? And Miss Harris's vehicle was in my driveway holding the horn down. So I went out, I opened the door, and she starts yelling from her window, "Are your dogs with you?" And I said, "Yes, my dogs are with me. They're in the house." And I started walking up to her. I'm like, as far as I know, they've been in the house. I apologize if they were out. And as soon as I finished speaking, she started screaming at me. So I said, she was screaming and cursing. So I said, "Hold up. This is not going to go this way on my property. You need to leave." And she said, "No, I'm not leaving until you talk to me." I said, "No, I'm not going to let you disrespect me on my own property." So I said, "You need to leave or I will call the sheriff." And she refused to leave. So I went inside to grab my phone, which I have videos, but I wasn't able to figure out how to submit them. They're too large.
Tell me about it.
But so I went in the house, and when I closed the door, she's laying on the horn. I called the sheriff, told them what's going on. They said they were going to send somebody out. So she's constantly laying on the horn. My kids are crying, freaking out. "What's going on, Dad?" So I go back outside, and I'm like, I'm going to film her doing this. So I filmed her. I walked around her vehicle, got her plate number.
So you went inside, did you call the sheriff?
Yes, I went inside and
Okay.
called the sheriff, and the whole time she's laying on her horn. So I went back out there to film this. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe because I have a long driveway, like I said, I'm going to go wait at the end of the driveway for the sheriff, and maybe that will entice her to leave my property. Because she kept saying, "I'm not leaving until you talk to me." I said, "I'm not talking to you, so leave."
How many times do you think she told you she's not leaving after you asked her to leave?
I would say at least half a dozen to a dozen.
Okay.
She was just flat out refusing. And I told her, like, we're not talking, so you need to leave. You're trespass. I even used the word trespass.
And when when you say initially, "Are your dogs with you?" She's hollering, and then after that, there was cursing.
There was no
what she said?
attempt at cordial communication.
Do you know what
It's-
she said? Did she make any threats to harm you or your person or your
It started
property?
with, "You need to F in," and as soon as that left her mouth, I shut down. I said, "This is not going to happen. You need to leave." And
So
she
there weren't
just
any
started screaming.
threats to harm you, your property, or your children yet at that point?
No,
of
she wasn't.
dog?
She
Okay.
didn't threaten, but she refused to leave.
Okay, all right.
So
Go
And
back
then
to- Kids are upset, you've called.
called the sheriff. I
and
go
now
sit
what?
at the end of the driveway and I'm sitting next to the driveway so she could clearly leave. I was blocking my neighbor's driveway at that point.
Are you just sitting yourself or in a car?
I'm
or
in my
what?
vehicle. I got my vehicle and drove to the end of the driveway.
Okay.
She lives across the
So-
street.
You drove, how do you drive if she's in your driveway?
So I have so you come down my driveway, then it opens up and there's a
Okay.
big parking area. You can go behind my house. I have 2 acres. So you can go all the way to the back of the property. You can go all the way to the front, but there's a big parking area in front of the house where all the cars are. So there's enough room to have several vehicles and turn around.
Okay,
And
so
so,
you could drive around this person in your driveway.
yeah,
and
she
then
was
go to
sitting
the end of
here.
your
My
property.
vehicle was sitting here in front of my house. I had plenty of room to back out. Well, actually, I backed all the way down the driveway and blocked the neighbor's driveway. So she could leave. She was free to leave, to wait for the sheriff. Well, then she pulls up and blocks my gate, my driveway. So I can't even get into my property now. And I said, you need to leave. This is illegal. So she's actively
blocks-
blocking my driveway.
Okay, so let me understand how that works. So she's in your driveway and then how did she?
So I'm sitting at the end, right by the road. She comes and I have a gate. Well, there's no longer a gate there, but there's 2 posts where there used to be a gate. So there's only room for 1 vehicle to get through. She
Okay.
comes and sits right there. So nobody could get in or out.
Perpendicular to that?
No, she just pulled. So here's the 2
Oh,
posts.
just
She comes,
between.
yeah, just
Okay.
sitting right in the middle of the lane. And
Okay.
so at this point, I told her she needs to leave. I'm filming this as well. You need to leave. This is illegal. I can't get to my house. I can't get to my children. She's like, I'm not leaving. So I called the sheriff again at this point. There was 2 calls. And I said, can you guys please hurry? She's now blocking my driveway. I can't get to my house. So they told me to stay on the line. I stayed on the line with 911 until the deputy showed up. He showed up. She was actively blocking my driveway and saw that I could not get into my property. So he had her pull forward. He had me get back in my car, had her pull forward enough that I could squeeze by. And then I went and waited at my house for him to talk to her. And then he came and talked to me. So that was the end of that incident. And I asked him, can I have her trespass? Can I press charges? He said the best course of action would be to get anti-harassment order because I don't know why I couldn't
So if
trespass.
this happened before or something. had
This was the
happened
second
before,
time I've ever had a personal face-to-face interaction with her. This
Okay,
is
what
the
was
second
the-
interaction.
What was the first one?
The one I mentioned back in September, October, when she came
Okay.
and we talked about, she showed me a video that she thought was my dog. I didn't think it was my dog.
Was there any conflict or harassment or threats or anything at that point?
At that point, yeah, she was talking about me buying a gate or a fence for her property. That I was gonna pay for a fence if it kept happening. She kept mentioning I'm gonna pay for a fence.
So do you share a property line
No, she lives
No.
across the street.
across the street?
Yeah.
So, all right. But a threat to harm, were there any threats to harm you, property, family, dogs?
Just stalking me.
In
She's
October, when you first met, or September, October, when you first met, that discussion. So hold your peace there. You can only
During-
hear from one person at a time and you're interrupting the recording.
during that discussion.
Yeah, what happened then?
In
Talk to me all-
October?
Yeah, talk to me. all
That
about
was just, we talked about the gate, we talked about the dogs. She just kept saying, if this is gonna be a problem, then there's gonna be court proceedings or something following. She basically made me feel intimidated and made me feel threatened by what she was saying.
As to maybe litigation or
Yes.
something, animal control.
Yeah,
of
without
dogs.
any, I felt like there was no proof that my dogs were even on her property, so it's just like,
All right. So that was the first event. It wasn't
Yes.
a good friendly neighborly, but it was simply contain your dogs or maybe I'll sue you or get animal control or you got to build a fence. Maybe you need to build a fence for me so that if you're gonna let your dogs go, is that kind of what,
yeah.
All right. And then the next time, so no other contact, no.
But
seeing
aside
each
from her-
other?
Reports from the neighbors and from my father of her sitting in our driveway when we weren't home.
Okay, so that happened.
In between those 2
Yeah.
timeframes, several times.
Okay, so several times means how many do you think?
I can tell you at least 4.
Okay, so about 4 times. She's in her vehicle, in your driveway, just sitting.
Sitting right by my house.
All right. And any discussion after all that? Any contact after all that before February 24th?
No,
No, no
aside
letters, no
from
nothing?
animal control. There
Okay,
was no,
so animal control shows up around when?
I want to say it was like towards the end of October
Okay,
or middle or end of October. I'm not exactly sure on the date. I wasn't there when they showed up. They spoke to my wife.
okay, all right. And so they show up, talk to them, and then between October and February, 4 times, you understand, she's in her vehicle, sitting in your driveway.
Yes.
Okay. And no, not coming up to the door, knocking on the door, no leaving a note, no nothing,
Nothing.
no emails, no texting, no nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. And then all of a sudden on February 24th, your neighbor's in your driveway in her car, honking her horn, refusing to leave up to a dozen
Cursing at me,
times.
yes.
Okay. And, all right,
And then the next day,
25th?
February 25th, I received a phone call from an ex-coworker of mine whom I hadn't spoke to in a long time. And he asked me if I knew of a Karina Harris, and I was like, yeah, why? She had reached out to him on Facebook. Mind you, again, I don't know this woman, so I don't know how she knows my last name, none of that. I introduced my first name, that's it. So somehow she found him on my Facebook because we're mutual friends on Facebook, and she wrote him a message to give to me, but he didn't even reply or show her that she could see the message, because you can view a message without letting the sender know that you've seen it on social media. And so she wrote him asking if he can send me a message for her. And then she sent the message, and it was a bunch of slandering me, talking about my criminal record and how I'm going to pay for her fence, and how she's already had to spend $700 on a small fence in her backyard, and how I already have basically almost word for word, I already have criminal charges. Do I want more because I can't contain my dogs and they're a threat to public safety, and that, or human safety, and that I have no regard for human safety because of my past. She was bringing up my past criminal record. So she's literally, I don't understand what my criminal record has to do with my dogs being in her yard, but she's running background checks on me, following me on social media, reaching out to coworkers, which my coworker said he doesn't know her. He's never met her, doesn't know how she got his information to even talk to me. He even offered to come here if I needed him to, but he said he doesn't even know that woman. So at that point, I was terrified. She's running background checks on me. She's making accusations. She's slandering, basically calling into question my character. So what's going to stop her from reaching out to my boss next time, or the company I'm working for? Like, I don't know how she's even finding this information out about me. So I'm terrified.
So what animals do you own?
I have a
Dog?
German Shepherd and it's like a pit bull mix.
Okay, 2 dogs.
Well, we
that
have a
seem
third
to
one
be-
too, but the third one was not involved in this.
Then, so that doesn't seem to be part of the aggravation.
Right.
These two are the,
And again,
that are being
each time,
mentioned.
so animal control's been in our house twice now, and both times they said she has not provided any proof for them to give us a ticket or any formal complaint.
So I'm going to turn to Ms. Harris, but what do you anticipate I'm going to hear from her?
I honestly don't know, probably calling into question my character and bringing up my background, which has nothing to do with this.
Okay, anything about the dogs or
She's probably gonna try and say they're dangerous, but I mean, we've lived in this house for 4 years,
4 years?
and she just moved in last year, and we haven't had zero problems with anybody around us until she moved
Why
in.
would you think she would say you have dangerous dogs?
That's what she wrote in the message, that my dogs were dangerous and that I don't have any regard for human safety.
Right. Is there
Because-
some allegation of them attacking her family, animals?
Animal control never said anything about them being threatening to anybody, or they would have given us a ticket or further. They closed their investigations each time they met our dogs. They came to our house and our dogs were out in the yard.
What did animal control say they were there for? Did they tell you what the substance?
Well,
of the
apparently it's
complaint was?
anonymous, but they said that our dogs were at large.
Okay,
They said it's anonymous. And then they also, the animal control lady, this most recent time, said that she feels, in her opinion, she can see how these are retaliatory, or it's like harassment, her complaints. They said they can see a form of harassment in the complaints they're getting. about our dogs.
So do you know how many complaints have been sent to animal control about your dogs?
As far as I know, the two, they've been to our house twice. And like I said, each time, because normally there's a process, you get a warning and then you get ticketed. And
Okay,
each time they've talked to us, but they haven't given us a warning or a ticket because they said you have to have a time-stamped and dated picture. You have to have proof. And they
So are
said
you-
she's not
are
providing
you
any
under
proof.
any restrictions from animal control?
No, none.
And so, and two times have just been that the animals are at large.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you understand. All right, let me turn, anything else before I turn to Ms. Harris?
I saw in her table of contents or whatever, she
Mhm.
submitted something about an Amazon dog bite or something.
Mhm.
Again, that further terrifies me because I have no clue how she would know anything about that. There was an incident
What's
between
that?
there was an incident between our dog and an Amazon delivery driver that was closed. Animal control was not involved. There was no
Do you know
legal
when that
proceedings.
happened?
What was that?
When did that about?
I want to say beginning of October,
Okay, of 24,
like October 1st, around there.
2024.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, and something happened, Amazon came to.
Yeah,
deliver
something happened with Amazon and our dog, and it was not public information. I don't know how she knows about that. And I noticed the other day, she has a camera pointing right down my driveway. So I think she's literally watching us 24/7 now. Like, I'm convinced of it. I'm terrified that she's watching my house all the time, waiting for my dogs to walk down my driveway. Like, how she would know about that, I have no idea. That's between us and Amazon. I don't know how she got any information on it. It's scary to be honest. It just adds to all this, reaching out to my coworkers, looking at my social media, reaching out to people off my
So it
social
looks like,
media.
is this your partner or your wife?
That's my
She's
wife.
raising her, is she a witness that you want to call?
Yeah, she,
Okay, so why don't you come up? I'll put you under oath. I'll hear from you and then I'll finally turn to Ms. Harris, Elizabeth Barrett, and you are married to Mr. Barrett.
Mhm.
Okay, and you live at this residence that we're talking about?
Yes.
And you're the owner as well of these two dogs
The
that are
dogs and the
upset?
Amazon account.
Okay, so what is it I should know about your request? I mean, Mr. Barrett is the only one I remember named on this order for protection.
I wrote in her and my father, Your Honor. I didn't really know how to go about it. I just wanted everybody in our house protected from being
Okay.
harassed by her.
And then the 4 kids.
Yeah,
And you share these kids?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So tell me from your perspective, what I need to know about this request for an order against Ms. Harris.
Well, I've known about the surveillance system that she has pointed at our house.
How do you know
because
about it?
You could see the light on it at nighttime, and then if it gets a little dim in the daytime or in the mornings, you can see the light. It is the kind of camera that hunters use to watch animals. And so since this incident with Amazon was from the driver not using the alert system to let us know they were coming, and she was in our doorway. So when
Who
this
was in your
incident-
doorway?
The Amazon driver.
Okay.
So when this incident happened, it was in my doorway, which would be not something that you could easily capture without that surveillance system. So that would be the only way that she would know about this incident.
And Ms.
Because
Harris
it was
would know.
it was my complaint. The incident was opened because the driver came to my doorway. And way further than somebody delivering stuff should be at. So this incident should not have been public information. It's just simply from the constant surveillance of my home.
All right, so I'm going to turn to Ms. Harris at this stage. Ms. Harris, now's your time to respond to this request. There's a temporary order in effect, and your opportunity to respond as to why the court, I presume you don't want this order and why the court shouldn't allow it to go farther.
Okay, first of all, let me address Amazon. Amazon seen their dogs in my yard so many times they quit delivering to me because the dangerous dogs, because there was a dog bite. So I had to explain to Amazon that they are not my dogs. So I actually got cut off for deliveries because of that dog bite, because the driver sees the dogs in my yard. That's how I found out about Amazon for one. Two, the camera they're speaking of is a rodent and like coyote control. It is a little thing you stick in the ground because I'm trying to deter any dogs, her dogs, from coming in my yard. So if something comes close to it, it makes a noise, goes, and it flashes red. That is not a surveillance camera. That is simply, it detects motion, makes noise and a light to trying to deter their dogs from coming in my yard. I have got it on all four corners of the acre property, trying to keep the dogs out of my yard. That is not a camera. I could go pull it right out of the ground right now. I've got them in all four corners and also at the driveway. So there's that. Animal control. The reason they have not heard anything back is because the case is still open. Animal control has called me. They said they're taking further measures and they will call me when the case is closed. When he says they don't have any videos or pictures, that is false. In the first case, the officer told me that my video proof was not sent correctly, so he didn't get it with the report. And I will tell you, I have dozens of ring cam videos of their dogs. And I have been to their house 3 times and 3 times only. And the 3 times I matched them up with my ring cam videos. And I'm going over there only for one reason only, is to have them come get their dogs. The other thing I want to bring awareness to is through their entire petition, they talk about I was drunk every single time. And I'm sure that they have looked at the evidence, what he just said, and that I have my 911 call and videotaped him what he did when I came to his house. He's the real danger. Their dogs are dangerous. This is a serious situation. And the last thing I am is drunk. I am terrified and I am very upset. So why no mention of being drunk today when their entire petition is about I'm so-called drunk? I am there because their dogs are in my yard and it's dangerous. And on October 30th, they say I was at their house. Oh, by the way, those 3 times that I've been there, I don't get out of my vehicle. Their dogs are loose. Why would I get out of my yard? I'm sorry, my car. I'm there to have them come get their dogs. And I have all the ring cams from it. And they have not heard back from animal control because besides me, there's 2 other cases that are open. Animal control did tell me that. I don't have them for court. I'm sorry I couldn't submit it for evidence because I did request the public records, but I got an email back that it could take up till April 21st to get. And so I am not trying to search them and do
Please
things.
step you back so you say you've been to their property 3 times. So
Times
do you agree it
only.
was around September and October and then February of this year?
Not in the middle time.
Well, why don't you start me out? Your
Okay,
3 times. Start me out with the first and then go to the
To be
second and
honest
then
with
the third.
you, I didn't want to talk to them because it started to be a problem. And so I put up those animal deterrents to see if that could do it. Because I did see there was a coyote also coming around. So it was like their dogs, the coyote is why I put them up. And I was really hoping that would work. And honestly, I didn't want to get to know them because we moved in and in
So tell me
September.
when you first had contact with anyone. Talk me through those 3 times.
So what I was going to tell you was the sheriffs came, like 8 sheriffs came and surrounded their house when I was getting ready to go talk to him. So I was kind of nervous about it, but I did it anyways because the dogs came again. And the
And
sheriff,
when was that, do you think?
that was in September. So I did go over because the dogs came back again. And I was like, I really didn't, because sheriffs gave me a card and said, if you see Aaron or a white car, please call us. We stayed our mind business. I didn't call the sheriffs when they were around. And
So you went over in September and your conversation was with who?
Yeah, it wasn't until this time that I said that I was going to sue them for offense, which I am.
Well,
That is
step
true.
back, what was that first meeting? Tell me
It
all
was
about that
fine.
first
It
meeting.
was fine, actually. He was polite. He said, yeah, it's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. And we're trying to get money together to put a fence up and they shouldn't be in your yard. I was pleased with the conversation. And I stressed to him that I'm nervous. Like I have a 23-pound-year-old 23-pound, corgi. And he goes with me everywhere I go. We walk out the door. This last time, the pit bull and German Shepherd were at my front door and at my car door. This is going to end up in a bad scenario.
When was the second time that you had contact with
The second time, which I sent you the video, I went to let my dog outside and the German Shepherd was like 20 feet away and I didn't see, he came out from the side of the house and I didn't see him. And the German Shepherd did run, but my little guy, when he's at home, he's protective. So my little guy took after him. And then
So when about was this, do you think?
this was October 30th. The same.
Okay, so did you have contact with either of the Barretts?
Okay, so no, they didn't come to their door. I went to their house, which is true. I did go and I had showed you that video. It's time stamped on the 30th and they didn't answer. They didn't come out. I came to
You stayed in your car or your
Yes.
vehicle.
Yes.
And what did you do to get anybody's attention?
I called animal control and I sent them the videos, and that was why animal control went there. I also sent you the receipt October 31st.
But step back, you're not answering. I really need some help
sorry.
here. So you, on October 30th, you go over in your car. How did you get anybody's attention, any of the Barrett's attention?
Nobody came out. Nobody came out.
But how, so you just went over, sat and hoped somebody would come
I
outside?
just honked the horn, nobody came out, and I left.
All right. So how, all right, so. And then since then, the Barretts think that you've been there about 4 times before about February. So you tell me, what do you think?
It didn't happen. The only other time is I drove up to their mailbox because animal control, I needed the address and I wasn't positive what the address was. So I just drove over and to their mailbox because I was doing the report for animal control. Any other time, I have never been to their property ever.
Okay, so then in the petition, there are these allegations that family members see you there. Let's see, where is it?
Didn't happen, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and then February 24th, we've heard from Mr. Barrett. What's your recollection?
So February 24th. Oh, sorry. I was thinking earlier date. Okay, so February 24th, what happened was I looked out my window because my dog was freaking out and the dogs were right up at the house. I mean, right up. I mean, if we would have walked out the door, it'd have been a bad scenario because my dog always goes from the door right into my Jeep and waits for me to open the door. You know what I mean? It's like, it would have been catastrophe. And so I called 911, which you have my 911 call. And they said if it's not an active attack, there's nothing that they can do, but they said what we need to do is transfer to animal control. I got voicemail animal control. So then the dogs went around to my side yard and I sent you a picture of the dogs behind my Jeep. And because a ring cam catches everything. These guys say there's no evidence. It's like I have dozens of videos. And so I got in my car and I went up to his house. And if Your Honor, he said to you earlier that his dogs were with him. If you look at the police report and the evidence, he even told the police officers, kids, let the dogs out. I mean, the dogs were loose.
So what do you remember happened? So you call animal control, you've got, go on.
In the car and I went to pulled in their driveway. I honked the horn. He opened the door and he yelled, my kids let him out. And he shut the door again. He said, my kids let him out. So he shut the door. Well, I've had to buy a fence that October 30th that happened. The October 31st, I sent you the.
So let me hone in on the 24th. So, you stayed on your property or where did you do? Where did you go?
I got in my Jeep when they went around the side property because they usually, when they come through, they'll go out and go down the other street, Green Ridge. So once they left, I got in my vehicle. And because 911, I got a voicemail at animal control. So I drove up to their house. I go out the driveway. It's kind of like kitty corner. And I go in the driveway and I honked the horn. He opened the door. He said, my kids let him out. And he went back in and shut the door. Well, I had more to say to let him know, like, this is getting scary. Like, if I would have came out that door with my dog, we would have had a direct encounter. And instead of talking to me, he shuts the door. He comes out of his house and he's from his deck and he's narrated alcohol involved, uh, intoxication and starts creating this scene that's not the scene and starts filming me because he knew darn well exactly why I was there because his dogs were out. He knew why I was there. And so he was claiming that I was drunk. And then he said he was going to call the police. And then I'm there because I'm terrified to death of their dogs. I'm truly terrified. So I said, you know what? I am not drunk. I will stay. I will stay. I will stay for the sheriff. So he ends up backing out, which, Your Honor, this is during school hours. I never saw any kids. That's all I'm saying. And why would he leave his house if kids were really in the house terrified? But that's whatever. Maybe people do that. So he leaves and goes to the road. I'm pulling out and he's videotaping me and I'm trying to talk to him. And then he said he called the sheriff and I looked and the sheriff was coming. So I backed up and I was like, I'm waiting right here. You say I'm drunk. I am not drunk. I want proof. I want a sheriff to see that I am not drunk because these two that are in court in front of your court, they have like
So
three.
then you back up and the sheriff arrives and
Yeah,
what
I see
happens?
the sheriff. And he talked to me and he said, well, clearly you're not drunk. And I said, no. And Your Honor, if I was drunk like the report says, why would an officer let me drive home? Because I wasn't.
I'm not concerned so much about that.
not
But
because-
so the sheriff comes, you have an opportunity to talk to the sheriff.
Yes.
And
he
then
was
somehow, how does this all resolve that
He
day?
was very nice. He said, thank you for waiting. I said, I'm here because he's saying I'm drunk and I'm terrified of his dogs. And he said, well, I thank you for waiting. And then he said, I'm going to go talk to him. Then the sheriff came back the next day and he saw that I said, look, I've even put up a fence. And he said, yeah, you really need to stay on top of this with animal control. And his words exactly were to me. Mr. Barrett seems to think that his defense is that his kids let his dogs out. And he's not getting it that he's responsible.
So what
And
happened on the 25th? So you're talking to the officer on the 25th. You said
Yes.
they came back out. Why did they come back out on the
He came
25th?
to let me know that he talked to what happened when he went and talked to him.
Okay.
Because he sent me home. You know what I'm saying? After he talked to me, he sent me home. And then he said he would follow up with me later. So he personally came over and was super nice and said, you know, he doesn't get it. He thinks because his kids let the dogs out that it's like he's not responsible. And them saying this isn't their dog, I have endless videos. It's their dogs.
So it's been about 3 weeks since the last kind of contact about all this you've had, or?
Yes, and
Not.
here's what I can promise you. I will never go on their property again. Animal control is taking it very serious and we're taking it very serious because it's gotten to a point where it's serious. I mean, something bad's going to happen. And also, the report was mostly written by his wife, which she's never been there. I've never even seen her. So, and I mean, what this feels like is retaliation for me calling animal control. And this is even more proof they don't want to take responsibility for having control of their
So
animals.
let me ask you a question. So you say that you're terrified of these two dogs, the German Shepherd and the Pit Bull mix, and kind of map out for me why you feel that.
Because one, my little dog, I mean, he goes to daycare, he goes to parks, everything. But when what I didn't know this until their dogs came around, and even the coyote, he charges them. So like, it's just a bad combination. So even if their dog didn't attack my dog first, my little dog is protective. Something bad's going to happen. Or it could be us. I don't know their dogs. So I don't know if they're nice dogs, bad dogs, whatever they're on. They don't want trespassing on their property. How about the trespassing of their dogs? Like, problem solved.
So so fortunately your dog hasn't been attacked. You haven't been attacked. Is that right? But you say they've been on your front porch.
No, I don't have a porch. They were literally this time why I went over there and why I was honking the horn for him to come back out is to let him know that this time, because before they would usually come in the backyard, which I've already put up a gate to stop them. I put up the flickering lights, which is not camera. It's to deter animals. That's all it is. It's not a camera. My ring cams are connected places on my property, but it's not the one that they're talking about that sees their house. That's an animal deterrent. So I've put up small fencing, I've put up a gate, I have animal deterrents, I've involved animal control. Like I've done everything under the sun that I could possibly do to keep their dogs out of my yard. That's the only reason I was at their house.
So at this stage, then, you've put up some sort of fence, and is there any other?
If you look and you can see the picture of it, what it is, it's an full acre property. I just put a smaller fence up on the October 31st, the day after the chase with their dog. And the same day they say they went to their house. Yes, I did because of that video. The next day I bought fencing. It's just so my dog can go out to the bathroom safe, and if their dog happens to be there, my dog doesn't chase their dog, vice versa. It's just to have a safe boundary. I've already done that. And I feel this whole thing is just retaliation because I did say now that it's happened again, now I'm going to sue you for fencing. Because I mean, what more can I do? And Amazon won't even deliver to me because they saw my dogs in here because they had a dog bite. And that's how I knew about Amazon. I had explained to Amazon that I'm doing everything I can to keep the dogs off my property. And because
you talk about an Amazon dog bite, what does that mean? I don't know what that's about.
Amazon got bit, the Amazon driver got bit by their dog. And then Amazon saw their dogs in my yard. So that Amazon driver didn't feel comfortable delivering to me. That's how I knew about this Amazon stuff, because I had to explain to Amazon to get my packages that I'm doing everything I can to keep those dogs away. And they have yet, Aaron, when I talked to him in September, they said they were going to put up fencing. There's still yet any fencing. And you know what, Your Honor? It's not only just like, it's everybody's protection. Those dogs are going to cause an accident or they're going to get hit. Like they just let them go.
All right. Let me just kind of review what I'm looking at here. I'll turn back if I have any further questions here.
Absolutely.
Mr. Barrett, Ms. Barrett, Ms. Harris. So what I have to find under the law, I can't find to issue an order. What I have to find under the law is that there's a course of conduct committed by Ms. Harris against the two of you with the intent to cause harm, it's like to go back and read it out, but that it causes substantial emotional distress and serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. Now, I can see you don't like that your neighbor is coming onto your property and honking her horn, but now I'm hearing more from the other side. It makes some sense why she's there, not wanting to get out of the car, not wanting to confront two big dogs who she doesn't know. So often we have requests from folks in the county about neighbors' dogs. I mean, this pipes up a lot of stuff. There have to be some ways that if you're all going to live in this neighborhood to communicate, maybe get the dogs introduced, maybe not, I don't know. You're all dog owners, you know that better than the court about your dogs. But that's the problem, is everybody has to control their dogs so that your neighbors aren't aggravated. And I don't find that Ms. Harris is committing harassment such that it's unlawful or illegitimate behavior, that she's coming over and honking her horn to get your attention because she doesn't want to get out and confront two dogs, so who are known to run loose. Now, there are other ways. I mean, I would suggest there's something called the Dispute Resolution Center, and they're here in this county. They do work. They've been doing it for decades. They help neighbors kind of figure things out. They help you come to some sort of understanding with each other so you can live peaceably and the dogs can peaceably and everybody can be safe and not worry about their neighbor. And they do that all over the county, and it's really helpful. I would suggest you try that if you can't talk to each other. But I cannot find that Ms. Harris is committing harassment as it's defined under the law. So I'm denying. The order ends today. There will not be an order going forward. It really sounds like folks can talk about this. Maybe if the dogs get to know each other, it won't be a problem. I don't know. But certainly keeping animals on your own property, that's kind of what we all have to do. And that causes a lot of aggravation in the county. So,
Do you mind if I ask a question then?
go ahead.
At what point, if it's not talking about a solution that she wants, it's simply money, are we able to then ask that she not be able to keep coming over and that's her only solution? is to
Well,
ask
I
for
think you've
money,
told each
despite-
other,
we've told
you
her, like,
have
if
to
the dogs
respect
aren't
each
out
other's
there-
limits. And
Mhm.
if you don't want someone on your property, then say that. But you got to figure this out. If you're going to
Right,
live across from
exactly.
each other, you got to figure this out. You don't
We've
want to
not
be
had issues like
aggravated
this with
forever.
ever before.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's okay to then tell us if you don't feel safe. But she's
I think you've heard
waiting
it.
however long, however much time, and then coming to our house and saying, I want money. Okay, that's nice.
Well,
but our dogs are
don't
not out
leave
when
it there.
she's
Don't
coming to
leave
our
it there
house.
and don't get into an argument. It sounds like you've got some room to work together.
Right, we've been.
And if
avoiding
you
her,
need
actually.
some help, dispute resolution center is a really good, low-cost group to talk to who can help you find ways to talk, find common ground, find a solution. They don't make the solution for you, you do, but they help you. Their motto is you can solve it, we can help. And so, in the emotions here, I think there's been a lot said.
Not
But
much,
if
just
we
that
can
can't
get that
afford to keep
emotion
going to
down.
court for something where we just want left alone, like.
Well,
we
but
feel
also
at risk.
I think there's a valid reason here why she's in your driveway honking the horn to get your attention.
More than
so-
however many times she says.
And
my
I'm
dogs
not
have been
arguing
out.
about it. What I'm saying is they're two big dogs she's afraid of. And
that's not
they're
when she's
on the
coming over.
loose. Well, that's what I'm finding. So
And reaching
I
out to our
hope that
employers and everything.
instead of
It's-
arguing
that
with
is
me,
harmful.
find a way to talk to your neighbor. Find a way to talk to your neighbor. Don't argue with me. You've got to deal with each of your animals. You got to deal with each other. You both want to stay where you are. Sounds like nice places. So find a way to talk to your neighbor, to find some even ground. You don't have to enjoy each other's company, but let's get beyond this. And so as I've said, Dispute Resolution Center is a really good outfit to help folks talk who feel like they can't talk anymore. You may be very surprised. They do work in this court every week, helping people settle disputes and small claims. And it's amazing what they're able to do. Truly amazing. And so I really recommend you'll both be happier, and you want to be happier where you live. And you want the dogs happy, and you don't want anyone afraid of your dogs other than, burglars. But you don't want your neighbors afraid of using the area and using their property, and you don't want your dogs, anybody's dogs, to be endangered by another dog. If the corgi's corgis may be small, but they're scrappy. So
Yes.
I don't want anybody's dogs to get hurt. But that's where we are. The issue is trying to communicate about these dogs. It's not harassment. So
She can reach out to employer all she wants.
all of you can talk, I hope.
Okay, Your
You don't
Honor.
have to talk to each other, but then you never get anywhere. So that's it for today. I hope you find a way, and that's one avenue is Dispute Resolution Center. You can contact them and see if there's something they can help you with. But
I'm more
that's
than-
it
I'm more
today.
than willing for that, Your Honor, because this for
All
the
right.
sake of all the animals.
There you go. So you got at least one opening there, maybe. And you can be on your way, and I just wish you good
Thank you.
luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So long. All right, so first taking up the request for an order against Elizabeth Van Tiem, which there was a temporary order issued under case 2559. Ms. Torres, were you able to serve notice of today's hearing on Ms. Van Tiem?
I had handed this notice to be served to her to the Thurston County Sheriffs. They had gone up there. They received a hostile mail, and then they weren't able to serve on her because they couldn't find her, and they were gonna try again, but then a hostile mail had called the Thurston County Sheriff's Office, going off on him. So at this point, I'm not sure what to do, and nobody feels safe going up there.
So, all right, so you haven't been able to serve notice, so doesn't have notice of today's hearing. So it's up to you what you want to do. So either the order ends today and we don't go forward, or I set another court date, the order stays in effect, and you attempt further service so we can have a full hearing? What do you want to do?
I think I would like to continue with another court date and still continue to try to have her served in the most safest means possible.
All
Because
right,
I'm not trying to get
so
anybody hurt.
we're gonna talk about a new court date and some. I'm looking at I think the 31st of March. Be the next time. Are you available then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so March 31. All right, it's March 31st, 9 o'clock. We'll be back, and that gives you that time. And we will re-email you the service packet, and then you can take it from there. Then let me move on then to Ms. Spear. We get 2560 is what we're taking up now. Ms. Torres's request for an order against Ms. Spear. There has not been a temporary order issued in this matter, and I do see. So Ms. Spear, it looks like you did on March 4th. Just last week you received, did you get notice of this hearing? You got the petition, all the things that Ms. Torres is saying, you got all that, it looks like, last week?
Yes.
Okay. And so first off, Ms. Torres, are you prepared to present in this hearing today to go forward?
I am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Ms. Spear, you're ready to go forward today?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, let me just reevaluate, as I've had lots of hearings. I've reviewed all of this last week, but I always like to re-review so I remember exactly and remind myself of the questions I may have. All right. So, Ms. Torres, why don't you tell me what it is that you want this order against Ms. Spear, and you have to establish unlawful harassment committed by Ms. Spear against you. You can detail that out for me.
Well, I met her about 6 years ago, but anytime that there has been a conflict, there has been, like, if we're at a public place or an event, I've had like several people come up to me and tell me that she wanted to harm me, have me my butt kicked. There's one point, and every time she's come up to me and said several times that she wanted to kick my butt, but she didn't want to go to jail.
Let's
And
talk timeframes more recently. Obviously, a more recent event occurred that caused you to come to court on around February 26th. It's kind of started all this. And I did
yes.
read the report, or not report, but all of the information you filed on the other case, and they're kind of intertwined. But tell me.
Well, they are friends. I fear retaliation even since the order. She was not involved in the physical altercation, but it was at her house. She did not get up to restrain her friend or to assist me to get help. They told me not to call the police. They did not call the police. They just sat there and watched this all happen. Her and her friend. I don't know the friend's name. He goes by a different name. That's not his legal name. But I mean, I don't feel safe around her. She is also my supervisor at work. So she's in a position of power to retaliate against me. And I mean, regardless of how this turns out, I'm keeping my distance away from all of that. But I don't feel safe, and I've had
So
several
tell me about what
incidents.
happened that night when you were assaulted by, you're asserting by Ms. Antiem. Tell me kind of step by step.
Well, I was like, Michelle had invited me to her house, and another friend of mine, she told me not to go, that she just had a bad vibe, but I didn't listen. And so I go to their house, and I had just made a drink, and I come out the kitchen, and her friend had raised up against me and started punching me to the ground. I just had knee surgery 2 weeks prior to that, so I was trying to protect my knee. It hurt when I had hurt initially injured my knee. I didn't want to go through that again. I was trying to do what I could. I got to the ground, but I was still being punched several times.
And then while that was going on, you're asserting what?
while that was going on, I did call 911 and my phone was knocked out of my hands by Miss Van Team, and they were telling me not to call the police. I had no choice. I couldn't get the woman off of me. No one was trying to get the woman off of me. So I mean,
You're asserting Ms. Spear, though, that Ms. Spear did not intervene and she should have.
not in any way, no.
Okay. And then, so you are able to call 911, and then what happens next?
They knocked the phone out of my hands.
And
But
then,
and I was still being punched. When I was able to get free, I grabbed my phone, grabbed my purse, and ran out the front door to the nearest stop sign because I don't know my way around that area. And then I called the police again
all right,
because my phone
And then-
call was disrupted.
okay. What, bad connection, or it was disrupted?
They
how?
they knocked my phone out of my hand and
Oh, I know, but
yeah.
you left the residence and you called 911, and
Yeah.
then what happened?
they came and I was already outside, so I didn't need their assistance, but
Okay. So then what did you do after you talked to the sheriff or whoever it was that responded?
my roommate came and got me and I came home.
Okay, all right. At some point did you go receive treatment or something, or?
I went about I want to say about 8 hours later, the same day, to St. Pete's.
Right. And then since that time, and that was sometime around February, third week in February, right? You filed this on Wednesday, February 26th. So that happened.
That happened, I believe it happened the 22nd.
Okay. All right. So then, since that occurred,
Yeah.
anything else with Ms. Spear?
No, there's not been no communication between us at all.
Okay. So you say that she supervises you at work. Have you not been to work, or what's going on there?
I'm still out on L&I. I'm still healing from knee surgery now.
Okay.
I will, I don't, supposed to be released at the end of the month, but I don't know for sure if that's gonna happen just yet.
Okay. And have you talked with higher ups about this order, and you're asking that your supervising person not have contact with you? Have you talked to?
I have contacted our HR. They told me to let them know how this case goes, but regardless if this goes through or not, I will be moving on to a different company. I don't feel that we can work together after something like this has happened.
So before this February 22nd event, can you tell me anything about your relationship with Ms. Spear and what I should consider?
It's usually gone pretty friendly, but you know, sometimes misunderstandings happen amongst friends sometimes, and things go back and forth, or they just may disagree with my actions or their actions. This is the last step I ever thought I would ever have to take with Miss Spears.
So in the 6 years you've known her, has she been your supervisor the whole time?
No, just with the last year.
Okay, so
we're in
known for 6 years.
Yeah.
And then, so in that time, anything of this nature, or anything else I should know about in that 6 years about your relationship with Ms. Spear? Anything that would add to your petition or my understanding?
Just one other incident where, you know, we were at a gathering. It's in there, at least I hope I put it in there. We were at a party that all of us were at, and I stayed away from them, and they had mostly stayed away from me. But then we've got people coming up that they're gonna jump you, and when I go to leave, she comes up and talks to me and literally told me she wanted to kick my butt, but she didn't want to go to jail. My roommate, Alex Bedford, heard this and saw this, and that's the first time that Elizabeth tried to assault me then too, and somebody had intervened.
So what occurred in your understanding? Why did all of a sudden Ms. Spear come to you and say that she wants to harm you? What was going on there?
I decided that prior to that I did, you know, that I didn't want to be friends with her at that point.
So, and where did this and when did this occur? I'm remembering this, but
That incident was about a year and a half ago, almost maybe 2 years ago.
okay, so maybe 2023.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And where were you?
We
At a
were
bar?
in Rochester. It wasn't a bar. It was just a public gathering.
Okay, so someone's house or
No, it was at an event place. If
okay, so
it,
there's a
it
gathering.
yeah.
And so how is it? So then at this gathering, you went to Ms. Spear and said, I don't want to be friends with you
No, before that.
before that gathering. All right.
And
So
I mean,
tell me about that and how it transpired that now she's at that gathering telling you that she wants to harm you. Tell me kind of step by step what happened.
we were just all at the gathering, and me and my roommates stayed with each other, and we mostly stayed apart. And then when we go to leave after hearing, like, I had more than one person come up to me, tell me that her, Miss Van Team, and another woman named Debbie Ferrer were gonna have me jumped before I leave. So I asked my roommate if we could leave because this is, you know, that's not what I want to happen. That's not what I came out for. And as I'm going to leave, she comes to address me and say, you know, like, tell me that I belittle people, that I'm mean to people, and that she wanted to kick my butt, but she didn't want to go to jail.
All right. And so this was a couple years back. So, and anything else about those previous 3 or 4 years? I mean, it out of the blue, all of a sudden, this you're telling me this
It's
person
it,
wants
it
to.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's mostly gone extremely peaceful. So this is what shocked and hurt me the most about the event that happened on February 22nd. I never would have expected this out of her. And I don't want to take these steps against somebody, but I have to be here for my children and my grandchildren. I have a life outside of all these people that people count on me. And I want to be there. I don't want to be involved in fights. I don't want to be assaulted. I would like to live
So
my
can you
life.
help me understand though, your understanding, your perspective on this? Why? Why in 2023 did this assertion that Ms. Spear wants to harm you? Why? Or is it a complete mystery to you? Or what is it?
I
Why
mean,
are you
to
just
me, it
attention?
is a complete mystery, but she may have a reason
Okay.
that I am not aware of. But
So
the
I'm gonna turn to Ms. Spear and I'm wondering, what do you think I'm gonna hear from her perspective?
I really don't know because from like other people, you know, I believe that me and her were friends, but then they're telling me that she thinks that I'm brain dead, that I do this, that I do that. So I don't know what you're gonna hear because she's one person to me in my face, and she's totally different when I'm not around.
So these are things you heard from others, but not from her.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And have you ever had a discussion with Ms. Spear before all this happened about a friendship?
I have tried, but I didn't want to hurt her feelings, and I never got a straight answer, or it gets deflected.
Okay.
You know, I don't even want to be going through this with her because I think she is a good person, but maybe we just don't make good friends.
Okay.
But now that she's in my supervisor in a position that I mean, she could be upset about this, and if we have to go to work like tomorrow together, she could choose not to work me. And I mean, this is a terrible situation that has happened because she's in a place of where she's friends with the other person. I'm just a newcomer, so I'm expendable. And that's fine, but I just want to be safe from all
So
parties that are involved.
Does Ms. Van Tiem also work with you all?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you said you're the new person. What does that mean?
They've known each other for years. I just met them 6 to 5 years ago. They've known
Okay.
each other for decades.
All right. Ms. Torres, anything else before I hear from Ms. Spear?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so Michelle Spear,
Yes.
there's this temporary order in effect. I'm sorry, there is no temporary order in effect, but there's a request that this court do that. And you've had a chance to review all that and hear today from Ms. Torres. So what should I know from you? I would presume you don't want me to issue this order. So what should I know?
Well, no, I've known Misty for about 6 years. And during this time, we've been friends. We've done events together. I've had her kids and her at my house for dinners. She's came to my home for holidays. I've never once ever threatened Misty at all. I've actually been her friend when nobody's wanted to be around Misty because she's kind of a hard person to get along. She has a different personality that people don't understand. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Well, can you tell me about this February 22nd allegation?
Okay, so I had took my sister out to go do karaoke across at Emperor's Palace, and it was getting kind of late. It was like 11 something, and we're coming back. Me, Sarah, Elizabeth, and my friend Frank. We're coming back to the house. Elizabeth wanted to
So is
stop by.
Elizabeth your sister?
No, Sarah Monier
Oh,
is my
okay.
sister.
Okay, got it. All right, go ahead.
And we stopped by the sampan, and my sister wanted to sing some more, which was fine. And Misty was there, and I said hi to her, gave her a hug. We were talking. Then her and Elizabeth were outside in the smoking area, talking about their issues that they had, and I thought everything was fine. It was closer to about 1:15, somewhere around there, and there had been a fight that broke out at the sampan with other people. And I told them I want to go. I don't like to be around stuff like that. And there was somebody out in the parking lot of the sampan shooting a gun in the air. Well, I got kind of freaked out because my sister, I take care of her, and I wanted to leave. Misty said she had to wait for a Uber or for someone to come and get her. I said, just, get in our car, go with us, have them come pick us up. I don't want you standing out here, who knows what's going to happen. We get to the house. I'm on the phone calling to check on my other friend to make sure she got out of there. And then her and Miss Elizabeth and Misty were fighting. So me, Sarah, and Frank tried to break it up. I had scratches on me from trying to break up their fight. My sister got hurt. She had bruises on her arm. And remind you, my sister has a learning disability and has breast cancer. I
So
never
you
told
were
Miss we were
okay.
trying to
So
break up.
Ms. Torres is saying that nobody helped and she was just getting beaten, but you're saying that you and another person and your sister tried to do what? What did you try to do to help?
Pull them apart, pull her out,
Okay,
Elizabeth.
so what part of that were you? What were you doing?
I was over the top of Misty. I got hit a couple times from Elizabeth when she hit her.
Okay, so you were over the top of Misty, did you say?
Like leaning over, trying to push Elizabeth back.
Okay,
Trying to push her off of her. Misty
all
had
right.
fell. She had fell back too and hit the chair, and then she got up, and we had to grab Elizabeth off of Misty, and then Misty took off outside. And my
Okay,
sister's here if you'd like to talk to her also.
so you were successful in getting Elizabeth restrained?
Yeah, the cops, we did.
And what about the cops? What happened?
They did come in, and we did a report, and we told them what happened. And Misty went outside. She did go outside and wait for them.
All right. When the cops came, who was there?
All of us,
What's all of us mean? Who?
me, myself, Misty, my sister Sarah Monier, Elizabeth Vantine, and Frank Noblock.
Okay. So then the cops come and everybody had an opportunity to talk with them and tell them what happened.
Right. And
And then,
I
and
asked
then
them
what
why
if,
Elizabeth
go
wasn't
ahead.
going to go to jail because I felt that it was wrong. You know, both of them fighting in my house. I thought it was disrespectful to us and embarrassing. I'm upset with both of them for doing that in my home. And I asked the cop why Elizabeth wasn't going to jail, and he had said because Misty wasn't pressing charges.
Okay. Oh, that's a all right, so the police come, everybody talks to them, and then nobody's arrested or taken away, but Misty is already, now Misty leaves, or she was back with the police, you're
No,
saying,
she was outside with the police and she left with Alex.
and left after. All right, so didn't come back into your house.
No.
Okay.
And Elizabeth left also with her daughter. Her daughter come to pick her up.
Since that event, anything but concerning Ms. Torres and you that I should know about from your perspective?
A couple hours after that, I got a text message from Miss Torres calling me a bad word for letting that happen.
Okay,
And I wrote it on my statement.
okay. Yep.
And then I tried to call her a few times to see if she was okay. And no respond, nothing.
Calling mean like sending a text or a phone call or what?
No, a phone call. I even left her a message. Call me to let me know you're okay.
Okay. And so you say that you called the next day, or no, you
That
got
night
a text or a phone call?
I got a text from her, but I had tried to call her to see if she was okay.
Okay. And then a couple of phone calls with messages and no response after that. And then anything since then and now?
No, nothing.
Okay. Now, you're a supervisor of Ms. Torres now for the last year, is that so?
I was, but because of her accident, there's also she, she claimed that she got hurt at work, and um, she hasn't been working, so we let her go. We're union workers. We work for 252 union laborers, and it's only part time that they work for the season. So with her being hurt, she's not coming back for the season. She'll have to heal and go back on the list for the union to get
Okay.
another job.
So, going way back a couple years, we've heard from Ms. Torres that a couple years ago, you were at a gathering in Rochester and you had,
Yeah.
what do you have to say about her perspective on that? What's your perspective on that?
Her and Elizabeth had altercations, and she had altercations with a lot of people. And this is where I talk about being Missy's friend and being there for her when
Well, tell me
none of
about
them
this
wanted to.
event. Tell me about that event that she talked about. What's your perspective on that event?
Okay, that was a Halloween party
Okay.
that we went to, and that was at a UMF clubhouse that we went. And she had gotten into it. I was not around the area. They were in the back of the building. Her and Elizabeth got in an argument, and I'm not really too certain what that argument was about. And then when she came around the corner, I told her, I said, well, maybe you should apologize to people instead of acting the way that you act sometimes, Misty. But I never threatened her. I did talk to her about her behavior because Misty can be kind of a hard person sometimes. She's she can be nice one minute and the next minute she's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You don't know what to expect sometimes when
So,
she's drinking.
so why would you think that in that episode that Ms. Torres would interpret that you had said something to the effect of kicking her ass or kicking her butt? Why do you think that would have been heard? Do you have any sense of what you
I think
said?
that's because I'm friends with them. I'm friends with all of them. I don't, I know a lot of people, and I think it's just because I was friends with them. I mean, at the moment, I'm not even talking with Elizabeth because of all of this. I just feel it's ridiculous, and it's not right. All of it. It's not right. And as far as Missy, I never threatened her. I mean, I had concerns of her, I'm not a counselor, but Misty needs some counseling, and I told her that sometimes she can be nice. Other times she's lost with herself and she needs some help with that, but she takes it out on others.
So you think you've known each other for 6 years. So anything previous to what we talked about, that gathering at Rochester, any other issues, any other occasions that you and Ms. Torres have had an argument or anything that I should know about?
No, we hung out as friends. We've done other events. She was just at my house just the other day before that and brought me and my daughter and my sister earrings and jewelry that she had made for Christmas and wasn't able to give it to us because we had just moved back to town. So she came over to my house and brought us that. And before that,
Sometime in early after Christmas, sometime before the February 22nd event.
a couple days before the 20,
Okay.
just recently, yeah. Her and her daughter came to my home.
Okay. All right. So anything else, Ms. Spear?
No, I just don't feel that I need a protection order. I'm not here to harm Misty.
Well,
never
you're
have.
not the one who's asking for it. Ms. Torres is asking for a protection order against you. So
Oh, I
that's
know.
why, yeah.
Yeah.
So anything about that request by Ms. Torres is what we're dealing with today. Anything more from you?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. Let me just kind of look through. You just filed a couple of things here and I've read them before now, but I just want to look through again, see if I have any other questions. So give me a moment. All right. So Ms. Torres, Ms. Spear, I am not issuing an order against Ms. Spear. There is not sufficient evidence to show that she has committed unlawful harassment against you in all the information that was filed before the court and all the discussion we've had today. So Ms. Torres, you'll make a decision about who you have spent time with and certainly Ms. Spear, but there will not be an order of protection for you from Ms. Spear. And we will be back, I think 31st of March for that next hearing, Ms. Torres, when we take up the temporary order that was issued on your behalf against Ms. Ventium.
Okay.
All right, so Ms. Spear, that's all for today. You can be on your way, Ms. Torres as well.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
You have got to be kidding me. What? What is going on today? This is a joke. Today is an absolute joke. Need an interpreter.
I need an interpreter when I cannot express myself sometimes.
Oh my God, sir, put that cigarette out. I don't give a crap that you are outside of this. What is wrong with everybody today? You know what, Miss Reed, we're gonna start bringing people in first. We're gonna learn how to act in a courtroom.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Ma'am? Ma'am? Can you hear it? Okay.
Come and go, so let us feel and grow. I'm the one that needs a drink.